Hello and welcome back to So Forth and So On. I am Miss Henderson and I am going to show you a quick scrap busting project. Today we're going to make a wrist pincushion. So I have a small piece of scrap fabric. Now this piece here is a piece of leather, and I have a piece of elastic that I cut, and it's just enough to go around my wrist and to overlap. So whatever your measurement of your wrist is, you would do that much. I have a marking item here. I have chalk because I'm using a dark thread. I have a white chalk and just a piece of fabric, cotton fabric, scrap piece, and something to a template. So I've taken my template and I fussy cut because this has a pattern on it. And so I fussy cut and I just put the template over what I want to be the top of my pincushion, and I use the chalk to trace around it. And now I'm just going to quickly cut it out, and you might need some clips or pins. But before I move on, I just want to show you, this is a pincushion that I made, and it's a patchwork pincushion. I sewed together lots of fabric into a patchwork, and then I made it into a pincushion. And I made it about a month or so ago, and I've been hanging on to it. I really appreciate it. So that's that one. But now we're going to make one for the wrist. So we want to go ahead and cut this piece of fabric and just cut around where we traced. For this one, I would trace on the outside of the line instead of on the line or on the inside. That just gives you a little bit more fabric to work with. And this is a non-woven cotton fabric, so there's no stretch to it. Now I'm not going to use interfacing on this fabric because then the pins won't be able to go through. If I were using two cotton fabrics or two thin fabrics, I would put interfacing on the part that's going to go on my wrist. And we don't have to be so perfect here, but I'm just tidying up my circle. Okay, so we're going to hope we have enough of this leather fabric, and I just barely have enough, but we are going to make it work for us. And I'm just going to clip it so I can cut it as close to the same size as my other circle. Again, I did leave myself some extra room, so no worries, right? Well, I dropped a clip. I'll have to get that later. Alright, so I'm just going to cut around the circle. Snip. It's a quick, easy project and doesn't require a lot of stuff. So let's see if we can get it done really quickly. Especially if you're just making it for you and not making items to sell. Now, of course, you can make it to sell at flea markets and craft fairs, or as a gift for another sewing friend, and you would, want to take more care. But for just a scrap buster for us, for home use, for personal use, you just want to get the project done. But you also want to be nice to yourself too and make it right for yourself too. Okay, so we're whittling down our scraps, and I'm really glad about that. Eventually I'll be scrap free. Alright, so I have my two pieces of fabric. So first what I want to do is take my wrist fabric. This piece is going to be on my wrist, and I want to pin or you could clip. Yeah, I better get back to the clips. you can clip the elastic to the right side of that and just join it right there. And I might have cut off a little bit too much elastic, but this is a good time to put your wrist through and see if it's gonna, so it's too big. So now I can just tighten up that elastic a little bit, bring it out. And you have to adjust sometimes. Everything is not always perfect, so I'm not giving exact measurements because we're scrap busting here. So now I want to see if it fits. And we're troubleshooting, problem solving. Alright? So I can take in about, I think about an inch more. So that'll be a ½ inch on each side and we'll be good. So I'll take about a ½ inch on each side. And so if we were going for a measurement, I would say I have about 4½ 5 inches of elastic for my wrist strap, because the elastic does stretch, so you want it to be something a little bit stretchy, so to be able to stretch over your wrist and to sit on your wrist. Okay, alright, so there we are with that. I have this, my hand, and it will sit on my wrist like that, and I can stretch it over my hand. So this is the way to go. So what you want to do is just put some stay stitches there. Just tack it in place right there on the edge, using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you just put a couple stitches in. Okay, so that's good there. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. And try to get them aligned across from each other. Again, you know you can measure and mark and all that, but because it's just a quick scrap buster project, I'm not going to do all that. Okay, so I just put a few stitches there. And now I'm going to cut my thread. And you can cut your excess elastic at this point if you want to. But again, I'm going to try it on again just to make sure it fits. So it fits. Still a little big, but once we start sewing the other part together, it might take it up a little. So we have that. Now what we want to do, I have to get that thread off. Let's go ahead and trim that elastic off because it's driving me a little bit crazy dangling down. So we just clean that off. And don't throw that elastic away, save it. Okay, so we have this here. And now what we're going to do is lay that piece of fabric right on top and clip it in place. And you can use clips or pins. Because I have this leather piece here, I'm going to clip it because pins will be hard to get through. So this is why we're using that. Okay. And we are going to sew all the way around, leaving an opening. I will leave about a 2-inch opening right here, but you want to make sure that you sew and you're hitting your elastic as you sew around. So go ahead and sew from one just before the one elastic point to just after the other elastic point. And I'm going to do that now very quickly. Back stitching at the beginning and the end. And you want to do about, let's just do a 1/4 inch seam. Good thing about clips is you cannot accidentally sew over clips. And I back stitch a few times over the elastic as well. that was pretty quick. Make sure your needle is up and your pressure foot's up, and you can cut your threads, all your loose threads. Now with this part, you can cut around with scissors, but what I am going to do, I'm going to use my Pincushion shears, which are the scissors with the teeth. And when I use the Pincushion shears, it makes the circle, the curve lay flat once I turn it right side out, and so that's very helpful. So we use Pincushion shears and just go around where we stitched. Where we left the opening, don't cut that opening because you're going to need that to turn your project. When you turn it right side out, you're going to need that to fold in so that you can close up that opening there. After we stuff it. Now, good stuffing for this pincushion would be any fabric scraps, and you can cut them up kind of small and then use those as stuffing. So that's just an FYI. For the sake of time and so forth here, I'm just going to go ahead and use batting. You can also use crushed walnut shells, possibly even rice or beans, but I am going to use polyfill. So here's the opening here, and we're going to go in and turn this project right side out. And it's really quick. We're pretty much done. All we have to do is stuff it and close up that opening and fill it with pins. And this is a little tougher because I'm using a piece of leather, so of course the leather is not as pliable as a regular fabric, so a woven or a knit or something like that. But it's more durable and will keep the pins from poking through. Also, when you are putting the pins into your pincushion, kind of put them in on an angle, don't stab them straight down, and that might help you keep from getting stuck by the pins. So this is what we have now. So far so good. And there's our opening right here. So we want to come along with our fiber fill. That's not the fiber fill I want to use. I'm picky. Okay, here we go. And since it's such a small project, I have a little piece here and I can just tear it so that I can stuff it. And this is actually batting, but they're pretty much the same type of fabric. And I do have crushed walnut shells, and I'm wondering if poly pellets would work, which are nice. At any rate, you know the drill. It's just like stuffing a pillow. Just put those in here. Put the polyfill or your batting or your fabric scraps or your crushed walnut shells into the pincushion. And this one you're going to stuff pretty full. You're going to stuff it tight. You're going to pack it in there because you really want to be able to protect your hand from the pin sticking in when you're using it as a pincushion. So stuff a lot of stuffing in there where it's really tight, and when you think you've stuffed enough, stuff a little bit more and put that inside. And again, this is where I get the name Nothing Wasted from my crafting projects and for my faith-based channel, because we don't waste anything. We find a use or reuse for as much as possible. We reuse and don't waste any of our resources. These resources, batting costs, fabric costs, everything costs. And when we're throwing away portions of it, we're wasting. Use every bit of it. It's like with food, you know, I tell my children, students, and family alike, I don't mind you eating it, but I have a real big problem with you wasting it and throwing it away. Don't get any more than what you plan to eat. You can always go back and get more. But if you end up getting full or not liking it and you have a whole plate full of it to dump in the garbage, that is just wasteful, and I just can't take it. So I think I've gotten this as filled as I possibly can. And we're going to push this down in here. You know how you tug on the sides there and fold that edge in. And I'm going to use clips. Now my circle at this point has been distorted, but again, it's merely a pincushion for me. And so I'm not going to fret over it, because I will still use it, even though it's not quite a circle anymore. And I guess if I played around with it enough, I could put it back into shape. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to go ahead and clip these edges for demonstration purposes. And go ahead and sew this closed. And you put your band on top so that it's not in the way. And you just have to be careful. Start a little bit back before the opening so that you can get a good grip. And you could use a stiletto or the point of the needle to make sure that that piece is staying down while you sew. You might even use a zigzag stitch just to make sure you're getting that part, getting both sides. And remember to back stitch. Okay. Alright, just wanted to catch my thread before I threaded my needle. And it looks like I want to cut these threads off the project, and we're actually done. And so we have made a pincushion out of some scrap fabric, so it didn't cost extra. We paid for it once. And I have my new pincushion. And I'm putting my pins in here. And I didn't put those on the angle and it didn't stab me because that leather piece under there protects me from that. If you want to, you can put some interfacing on the leather, on the back of the leather piece as well, just for double protection. But I really like this pincushion, and to be honest with you, I've never had a wrist pincushion, but I think this is something I can get used to. A wrist pincushion, because now it goes everywhere I go. I don't have to look for my pins. I can pin, I don't have to put pins in my mouth, or so I think you're gonna see a lot of this pincushion and I might make some more. Thank you so much for joining me here on So Forth and So On. I'm Miss Henderson. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please remember to subscribe and press the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload new videos on this channel. Please consider sharing this channel with your family and friends. And leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know if you plan to make this or if you have made this. Let me know what's going on with the pincushion and how you like the project. Thank you so much. Until we meet again, may love bring you to your feet again and show you how to dream again. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Bye for now.